Hi everyone, this is Killshot from 99 Gaming. This is Fear the Walking Dead Season 4. We're going to do the second half, Abraham and Eugene Early Days. Before we get into today's video, I want to say Happy Father's Day to all the fathers that are out there. And thank you to everyone else who's been taking care of the fathers today. You guys have done a wonderful, wonderful job. So give yourself a pat on the back as well. We are back doing a live stream after, about 4 days off, a little mini vacation. So we got some good topics to talk about tonight. Really excited about the second half of Fear, starting up in mid-August. And then tomorrow night we'll start talking about The Walking Dead Season 9. We're going to be doing our episode by episode up through the first half. And you know, as we get closer and closer to the San Diego Comic-Con with the teaser of what's going to go down, we're going to be picking that apart as well. So we do a lot of really interactive CSI type of videos. Thank you to everybody. Such a awesome group of people. Got a lot of messages saying, hey, Kills, take a much needed rest and come back and let's get these things rolling once again. He did. Hopefully. Fluff, don't jinx me yet. Let's get through this stream. We did a stream earlier today, just a real quick one. It was only 5 minutes. It was just a Happy Father's Day test, and I do want to say, no, absolutely not. You know what? It's the elephant in the room, so let me go ahead and Epic Vids did bring it up. So I will not be making a statement regarding the Chris Hardwick situation or the Chloe Dykstra situation. It's not going to be something we discuss on our channel. If it is super chatted, I'm not going to acknowledge the super chats, so please don't. Just don't put me in that situation. If you guys talk about it amongst yourself, I'm sure there will be comments from time to time. I can't monitor every comment. We're not going to block people unless they're rude. We don't want to completely not let people have their say, but here's the problem. We have a strong position on this channel. We don't discuss religion, politics, and serious controversial situations. The other thing that I also want to say before we get into tonight's episode, because this is real serious times, there are YouTubers out there who are talking about this, and they get paid an advertising fee to talk about it. I'm going to tell you guys about a lesson I learned a while back. I did a video, simple enough, and it was just, I thought it was a news broadcast, and I just want to let people know that Prince had passed away, and I got an advertising fee for that, and that's not the type of videos in my mind that YouTubers should be paid for. I'm not going to, look, you guys, to each their own. I'm not here to bash other people, but let me say this. News and media outlets are exactly that. They're news and media outlets. Most YouTubers are not news and media outlets. Most YouTubers are taking the news from someone else, and we're putting our own spin on it. So when you talk about a topic like that is serious, and you get an advertising royalty, it just, I don't know. I have a hard time with that. So that's the only thing that I'm going to talk about. Thanks for bringing it up. If it comes up again, then you guys know exactly where we stand on it. So moving on to tonight's topics. We got Valar saying hello to 99 Army. Welcome back. Happy Father's Day to all. Kills, Steph, Emmy, Kells, Bree, Sweet Tommy, sponsors and patrons. Thank you so much, Valar. Appreciate that. And also Pete D in the house showing a little bit of love and says, hey, Kills, missed these streams. And you know what, Pete? Missed you as well. So glad to have everybody back. Thank you so much. And this is what we do. So we are going to get into something we didn't get a chance to talk about. I know everybody saw it. But the tapes. And you guys have been talking about the tapes before anybody was talking about the tapes. In fact, I probably want to go to, was it Drama King that actually started talking about checking the tapes? Kel, I know you and Drama King had some banter back and forth, but do we officially give him the credit for bringing that up? Or was that something that was kind of a dual conversation? Because I do want to say, boy, oh boy, was he on to something big. I'm not taking any credit for that. I will talk about it, and I'm gonna pile onto it. I'm gonna add to his check the tapes. So now it's open season. Everybody's talking about it. But I would say long before they released it on the TV show, they made it a big deal before other YouTubers are talking about it. Drama actually brought it up. And did it not lead to something? Because we definitely saw the Eugene and Abraham is what we're going to talk about tonight. So just differences. My daughter loves your channel, and I'm interested in your content as well. So thank you. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. You know what? I'm never going to turn away a compliment, so appreciate it. And but here's the secret, just different. It's not about me. It's about all the people in these streams. My job is fun because I've got just an awesome group of people I get to work with every day. So I am going to take Drama King's Check the Tapes to a whole different level. I'm going to give you some things today. We're going to open up Pandora's box, and we are going to talk about how brilliant, once again, I'm saying that word again. And did I catch some flack for putting my foot down and saying that the mid-season finale of Fear the Walking Dead was one of the best ever? One of the best ever. I caught some flack by going against other people that were bashing it. But how brilliant do the writers of Fear the Walking Dead look right now? Think about this. Morgan is the bridge that could possibly lead the group back to Alexandria. That's one. Althea's role, and I was not a big fan of Althea's role in the beginning. You guys probably remember by the second or third episode, we had a live stream, and I said, journalist, yeah. And I kind of compared her a little bit to Carly, right, from Telltale, The Walking Dead. Just a news reporter and a journalist, and I'm like, I don't know. But that is brilliant because look at all the things that they are able to do. One, they're able to time shift. So all the things that they did in episode 8 where you saw Madison, they completely confused us with the time shift because Madison's having this interview and you don't know, like, wait a minute, did Madison escape? Is Madison actually there with Althea? She snuck up on her, but then you're like, no, this had to happen before. This is the time lapse. So because of Althea's profession, they're able to take us back in time. And how wonderful is it going to be if they dedicated an episode or two to Abraham and Eugene? How many people want to see the Abraham backstory? How many people want to see, type it right now if you want to see it. How many people want to know what happened with Abraham and his family? That Abraham is dead, but we can go back. It's almost like Han Solo, right? Sorry, spoiler. If you didn't watch the Star Wars, Han Solo died. But Kylo Ren killed him. But you're able to go back and you get to see Solo earlier, before he ever joined the Force. So an Abraham story, and to take it back in time, you could tell that story. But you know what? So, and I'm going to say it again. You know what? I'm going to say it a bunch of times tonight because I'm not changing. I'm not going against what I like about The Walking Dead. The writers on Fear the Walking Dead were brilliant. They were brilliant to move Madison off the show. They were brilliant to bring in these new characters. And I didn't understand it at first. And they are brilliant to have Althea as a journalist. So the question I'm going to ask for all of you is, if we go back and we get 1 or 2 episodes of Abraham, how far did Althea travel? How long has she been a journalist? So we're going to table that 1 second because Epic Vids has got a super chat. And he says, John Bernthal has been seen around Season 9 set. Is it possible that Shane could appear in Season 9? Absolutely. Epic Vids, over the next week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, when we start getting into Season 9, Episode 1, Episode 2, Episode 3, I think you're probably not only going to see Shane, I think you're going to see a lot of actors brought back to really get Rick to reflect. I think Rick's going to be doing a lot of thinking. He's going to be doing a lot of dreaming. I don't think Rick is going to die. I really don't. I think, though, that there's going to be a lot of reflection, a lot of thought, and a lot of questioning what is best for the group and what is best for his family. We are going to talk about it in a different stream, but I'm going to tell you guys right now, this is what I think is going to happen. You may not agree with it because you're not going to think it's the most popular opinion that's out there. I think Rick, Michonne, and Judith leave the group. And I do think that they're going to get the time skip. I've really spent a lot of time thinking about this. I know a lot of people say, there's no way they're losing Michonne. I think they're going to let both of them have a season to a season and a half off to work on other projects, and they will bring Rick back as the hero that saves The Walking Dead. I think they have 3 more seasons, and I think they'll bring Rick back in for the last season. That's my feeling. So, more to come on that. So, Epic Vids, thank you for that, but I can promise you we will be talking about that more and more, because I think that Rick is going to... I could make a whole stream with just talking about that topic, but we're going to talk about it later on in the week. Rick is not going to leave without Michonne. There's no way, zero possibility. Rick is not going to leave without Judith. The only people that Rick has an obligation to at this point are Judith and Michonne. If all 3 of them leave, and if you guys mark this down, you've heard it first on 999 Gaming. You heard my prediction first before it ever happens. I just got a strong conviction with this. I will take ownership of this one, though. I'm feeling it. I am feeling it. It's like, when you gamble, you got to roll the dice. I'm feeling we're going to roll the dice here. And some people 100% agree with that. So I think this season they decide that it's just too much. They can't get along with Maggie. They can't make the right decision. There's always danger around the corner. Rick can't take care of his family. I think him and Michonne decide we're going to hit the road. They're not going looking for Morgan. Finding Morgan in Texas would be like finding a needle in a haystack. Morgan is gone. Morgan didn't even know where he was going, so there's no way that Rick will find Morgan. But if Rick leaves, they give him a couple years off, needs a break from Walking Dead, and they pay him a large sum of money to come back in 3 years, and it'll be the final season of The Walking Dead, and Rick will bring it home. Or they'll transition to 2 shows, and Rick will come back for that last season. Or he'll come back and stay. Remember, Michonne left for about 2 years, and then Michonne came back for the Whisperer War. I don't think they're killing Rick Grimes. I just don't. If they kill Rick, it will be the most shocking... It'll be a mistake. It'll absolutely be a mistake. It's not about getting your epic death. It's about... I think it's about leaving the door open. So, thank you for that, No Epic. You kind of got me on a different tangent, but we will talk about it. Kel, if you want to document that Fear the Walking Dead Season 4 Abraham and Eugene video, Father's Day, June 17th, Kill said, this season, Rick, Michonne, and Judith all take off. I don't disagree that there are people that will threaten to leave the show and people that will leave the show if Rick is not on the show. And that's why I don't think there's any way they'll do it. I could definitely see it starting with Rick and ending with Rick. But it doesn't mean that they can't give Rick a little vacation in between. Awesome. Documented in the 999 Museum Library. Okay. Here we go. So we're going to get back into a couple of questions I have with Althea's storyline, because I think it is absolutely... I think it's brilliant. So, how far could she have traveled? And the question I have is, who else could she potentially have tapes of? Give me a few comments. Give me a few ideas. Now, she probably ran into Abraham Eugene in Texas. Possibly. We don't know at what point. Daniel, maybe. Rosita, possibly. A lot of people still interested in Daniel. I don't know that Bob's story would be quite as interesting. That is a great point. So I've got both, Daniel Salazar. Pete D says, Texas is a huge state. What are the odds? I'd love to see it, but it's kind of far-fetched. I'm glad you brought that up. Because the only characters that we currently know could be Daniel, could be Eugene Abraham. But if they continue to do it, it may be a tired story. It may be too coincidental. But there is a lot of coincidence in the Walking Dead universe. Because this would be what I would say. We want it to happen, but what are the odds that Morgan runs into a person who also knew Eugene and Abraham? What are the odds of that happening? That's pretty serious. Although I will be willing to bet we'll put up on the shelf and not care about it, because if you get a backstory of Abraham, it's worth it. It's worth all the coincidence in the world. So, one question I have for the group, and I know this is it's kind of a rhetorical question, but I have to ask it anyway. I'm going to have to get back to my rhetorical question. So, Epic Vids, characters leaving The Walking Dead, Fear the Walking Dead. How many times will they do that open-ended story? Kind of getting old. I'm going to put that in as something I want to ask all the audience. And I'm going to give you a couple of options, because I think that's a fair question, Epic. And if you guys are new to the stream, Epic does ask some really good, thought-provoking, challenging type of questions that challenge the norms. Big fan of the show. And that'll be kind of my rhetorical question a little bit. We do this. See, it's like, we're on the same page almost. So, the question I have for the group is, you've got 3 choices as a Walking Dead fan. And keep in mind, characters leaving, coming back. But, option number 1, Rick Grimes dies. Option number 2, Andrew Lincoln leaves the show. Option number 3, Rick needs to get his family away from the group. Too many things just happened with this war. Needs to protect Judith. He leaves and then makes his way back. So I'm going to ask the group, as fans, keep in mind, does that feel like an old story? Which option, as a fan, would you prefer to see? Which would you be the most receptive to? And Epic, the reason I asked the question that way is because I feel like overwhelmingly it's going to be C. I think that people are going to want Rick to come back. Most people are going to want him to come back. And I know this is a small sampling. Leaves and comes back. So, the problem with killing him is, can't undo it. And now, there's certainly people that are going to feel the story's repetitive, but I'm okay with that. I'm okay with a little bit of repetition. Maybe some people aren't, and some people are going to get tired of it, and they're going to want to leave the show. I get that. But I do think, and specifically to Epic's question, people are going to have of all the characters that you don't want to kill on The Walking Dead, Rick Grimes is the one that more and more people are going to say, it started with Rick, it ends with Rick. It's Rick's story. they've tried to get away from it a little bit being Rick's story, so I definitely get that. And maybe it needs to develop a little bit more. Maybe Rick being gone for a year might help some of the other characters develop, especially when the hardcore Rick fans are going to say, we want him back. But those of you that understand, there's some sports fans in here, but I'm going to use the analogy. Andrew Lincoln is leaving by choice. He's leaving to do something different. LeBron James left the Cleveland Cavaliers to do something different. They burned his jersey. They hated him. They said he was a coward. They didn't want him back. But let me say this, and as somebody that's not a Cleveland Cavaliers fan, when LeBron came back and won the championship for Cleveland, I felt like I was part of the Cleveland Cavaliers. I felt like I was part of that city. To me, it was such a wonderful story. All those kids that had grown up watching him, that were disappointed, and then he left and they felt betrayed. When he came back, to me, that was one of the greatest sports stories of all time. And to Tommy's point, he could leave now, and it would not be the same. So, if Andrew Lincoln leaves, yes, there's going to be some people that question why. There's going to be some discontent. But boy, oh boy, if he comes back, can you imagine the boost that he would give the show in 2 years? Can you imagine the promo, the publicity, all of those things? All right, got another super chat here. So I want you to kind of think about that for a second. Sergeant Chosen One has the question, how do you see Lauren Cohan leaving? I see her dying somehow. I don't see her coming back. Different story. Now, let me say this, because Chosen One, I want to tie this into the other question. I don't see Rick running. So, I don't think that Maggie dies and Rick looks out and sees the Whisperer and says, let's pack up and get out of here. We can't win. I don't see them making Rick a coward. I see Rick leaving because he feels like Maggie needs to lead the group and Rick needs to take his family somewhere else. That's kind of my feeling. But I don't... It's a tough situation. I don't know. Let me ask the group. How do you guys see Maggie leaving? Or do you see Maggie leaving? Is it possible she stays on and does both shows? And I'm not convinced that she's leaving at this point. This season. Now hold on. Let me take it a step further. We're going to add a whole different element to it. I'm going to get a few comments here, but I'm going to make it a whole lot different. Okay? People are saying she's done, not sure. All right, let me go ahead and get my thought in here, because some people will be watching the playback and they'll be like, Kills was waiting to comment. It took 10 seconds before he said something. People want like nonstop. Let me add a different element. We're assuming that the Whisperers are going to be early on in the season. So let's say they're not. And let's say Maggie does not leave this season. She doesn't leave until next season. They signed her for 8 episodes. They extend her contract. They get her all the way through the season. But let's say there's this mini civil war that's going down. Rick is not popular. They don't like Negan being there. Rick turns over leadership to Maggie. Rick leaves. Maggie takes over. Maggie's tough. Let's say the Whisperers get introduced next season. And that's what brings Rick back. Maggie dies via the Whisperers. And Rick comes back to help the group. Hey, I mean, it happened with Michonne, right? Let's take the comic arc for a second. Okay, in the comic, Rick did not kill Negan. Rick locked him up. Michonne didn't like that. Michonne leaves. So let's say Rick doesn't want to kill Negan. We all talked about Maggie getting her chance and not killing him, showing compassion. That would be the true acceptance of Negan, is if Maggie gets the opportunity. I asked you guys in a live stream before and said, I'll ask you again. One more time. Now, I want you to remember, the majority of this crowd, most of you, when I asked this question a couple of months ago, I said, if Maggie was face-to-face, would Maggie really kill Negan? And you said, probably not. So I'm going to ask you again. Of all the talking, all the things she's doing, she wants revenge. Do you think that Maggie would kill Negan, or do you think Maggie would spare Negan, which would make everybody that looks up to her accept Negan into the community? Leave your thoughts and comments below. Now, what I'm getting already here is a lot of people now are saying they think she kills him. I will tell you, and I don't know which ones, I do know that the vast majority of people that when we did the stream said they didn't think that Maggie would actually go through with it with Negan. Now, we asked that question before the season finale when Maggie was there with Jesus and with Daryl. So that one little scene at the end changed a lot of people's perspective. She did. Nether Fox, I don't disagree. She killed a random savior without hesitating. Are you guys forgetting that Rick's sole purpose was to kill Negan? And he didn't do it? So you're telling me that Rick can spare Negan, but Maggie couldn't get the same story written in? It absolutely could happen. Rick was the most possessed as far as probably Rick, then Sasha, and Maggie. But even Rick said over and over, only one person has to die to end this. Ron, it's true, but when you're the person there holding the gun, it's different. And where does it end? All right, I don't want to get too far into what we're predicting for The Walking Dead because we got a lot of stuff to talk about starting tomorrow night. Hold on, everybody. I'm going to reel this back in. We're going to table, and then Epic's doing it to me again. All right. Epic says, Carl's letter is the only reason Rick spared him. Maggie has nothing from Glenn holding her back. But she is a leader, Epic, and she is trying to build a society. And I can see Maggie's anger, but I could also see Maggie showing compassion. I'm not, look, I am not giving Negan a pass. Don't think that I'm on the Negan bandwagon. There's a whole lot of things that have to happen in order to see that go down. No doubt, but the question that I have, would Maggie undermine Carl's legacy? Think about that for a second. Don't just type based on what you saw the last episode. This is a much, much deeper topic. It's not react because of all that anger. Maggie's going to have some time. We're not just talking about Maggie and Glenn. We're talking about Maggie, Glenn, Carl, Rick, Michonne. There is a division here. It's not as simple as just, okay, I'm going to feel better. Emmy says she doesn't think so because Glenn wouldn't want her to. At Maggie, who is now a leader, Maggie, who is about to become a mom, I don't think she can do it. I really don't. I think she has all the reason. I'm not saying she doesn't have a reason. I don't think she can go through with it. That's the difference. Because this life is it's a test. Negan's life is the test. All right. We're going to move on back to Fear the Walking Dead. And I do want to make a couple announcements about some streams and some things that we're going to be doing later on in the week as well. So, one of the things that I think they have the ability to do is time shift. I know that you had mentioned Daniel. You had mentioned, we talked about Abraham and also Eugene. I'm going to hold the Walking Dead and Maggie and those questions until tomorrow night. So I'm going to table them because I want to wrap up a little bit of Fear the Walking Dead and I think what this actually could mean. We're also thinking about the coincidence. So before let me get to my rhetorical question, okay? Are we as viewers a little bit too critical of the believability of the stories of The Walking Dead? Because you see people that are saying they shouldn't do that, they should do it this way, almost as if we're writing the show. So I just want to start with a very generic question. Are we too critical? We're fans, but we're not showrunners. All right, and I'm going to follow this up with another question. Epic, I'm going to disagree. And we'll respectfully disagree with each other because there's a degree and there is a contingency that thinks the writers need to be held accountable. I'm not one of those people. I've always been of the standpoint that I'm not writing it for them. They're writing it, and I've got to be along for the ride. And Valar and Epic, I think if I combine both your comments, where Valar says, because our theories are sometimes better than the writing, I don't disagree. So Epic, I would tie a little bit of that. So instead of kind of holding their feet to the fire, putting pressure on them, because sometimes that goes overboard. Here's my follow-up comment to that. We're overly critical about a show that is not realistic, but it's a show that is unrealistic. And Tommy, I have no idea. I didn't see that, but we'll talk offline. So, Brene, if you're still listening, I am sure you didn't type anything that warranted a timeout. BK Harp is one of the longest supporters of this channel, a very respected Patreon. So I'll find out what just happened there. I'm thinking it was a mistake, but BK, I'll apologize before that happens because you're here every stream, so I'm sure that was not intentional. Okay, good. If you can see the chat, then you can see what's going on. So Alicia James says that just confused my brain. All right, so let me explain it again. And I have to hold myself accountable for it. I talk about the coincidences that happen in Fear the Walking Dead that I'm uncomfortable with. But the whole show, as we know, it's a fake show about zombies. So we're overly critical about something that is not going to be perfect. It already has a negative expectation because the people that don't watch it don't believe in it. There's other people that don't watch it because they don't like zombies. There's other people that don't watch it because it's too coincidental. So there's a lot of reasons why not to watch the show. And it was almost always going to have a declining, there's going to be a decline in viewership. You probably start out and the first episode might not be the best because word has to travel. And then it blows up, it gets popularity, and everybody's watching, and all these great things are happening. And then, bam, it's there. So the show gets better, and then you get maybe, season 2, 2.5, you get maximum popularity. And from that point on, you have an attachment with the characters. So every year, you're probably going to start losing popularity. And it's a story that you're going to have to find a different way to tell the story. So we are very critical. We do debates. We talk about things, but sometimes we cross the line with it. I cross the line with it, so I understand it because our passion for the show. We want the show to be great. But Epic, I would say your idea of a good show is a little bit different than my idea of a good show, which is a little bit different than other people's. So we all like the concept, but there's people that love Tara. There's people that hate Tara. There's people that wanted Madison gone. There's people that wanted Madison to get another chance. So everything that they do at this point is open for scrutiny. So if you're not a fan of the show and you take it too far, you're always going to be wanting it to be better and to change something. And that's why I think that this storyline with Althea is very refreshing. That was my kind of rhetorical question. And when you see things like, well, the show's losing, of course it's losing viewers. But if they announce that tomorrow was the last season of The Walking Dead, it would set records. It would blow it out of the water. Because people are going to want to see how the story ends. It'll ramp up all over again. And I do think they have about a 3-year period in order to sort of get that back. So I'm okay with the ride. I would love for it to last. I think Epic, I'd love for it to last 15, 16, 20 seasons. I just don't think it can. But I am going to, God, I'm getting into so many of these Walking Dead topics. This is something I would like to see, though. All right, I know it's out there. I know it's a little bit crazy. But I was setting it up for this. So if the writers are listening, if Robert Kirkman's listening, if everybody's listening out there, I think it's time that we have a virus that infects wildlife. There it is. I'm saying it right now. So the virus is affecting, there's a strand of the virus. Strand or strain, whatever. You know what I'm talking about. Every time I say that word, I think strand. Anyway, you know what I'm talking about. So there's a form of the virus that is affecting people. Who's to say that the strain of the virus, thank you, is not modified to where, think about that. Right now, it's like everywhere you go, you got to look out for a walker biting you. Yeah, okay. And everywhere else you go, you got to look out for Negan and the governor and these people. If you also had to look out for other things and there was a ticking time bomb, like animals, rabbits, I just would like to see that. I would like to see a variation of it to where you're being not just hunted by wild animals, but wild undead animals. Killer squirrels. There you go. Hey. I think that would add a couple seasons to it. This would probably go for both shows. So, another Fox says CGI budget blown. Well, yeah, I mean, it certainly is going to be harder to train an animal to do the things that humans can do when they're in makeup. So let me go to Super Chat. I'm going to ask the group this. So let's see, because this is going to, this might open up a can of worms. Epic's point is maybe fans are a little too supportive no matter what the shows do, even when the show does things that make no sense. Here's the thing that I would ask, Epic, because I think it's a deep conversation. So, give me an example of something that is really, really obvious to you that you would say does not make any sense. And we'll dissect it a little bit, because that's the only way I can really look at it. Instead of like generalities or saying, I am always going to support the show. I'm a Walking Dead fan. So that, to me, that's what being a fan is about. And people that aren't fans, they'll watch something else. It's not my job as a fan to make them write a better show so they keep their viewers. It's their job. I don't want to do their job. Okay, so 2 things. Glenn's dumpster scene and Carl's death. Not everybody would agree with you about Carl's death. There are people that don't think Chandler's a very good actor. There are people that don't think that he was ready to take over the show, that would have had a hard time. I will tell you, I had a hard time seeing him until the last couple episodes. His ability started to stand out a little bit more to me. But I don't think that that's just a unilateral conversation. I mean, the dumpster was there. How Glenn got out of it, there were a lot of people that were happy with Glenn getting out of that. So it might not have made a ton of sense, but it sure made a lot of people happy. And, you know, here I am a couple years later with the Glenn scene. I understand why they did it. Because it was another attempt at a cliffhanger. How many people, let me throw this out there. How many people, when you saw Glenn being attacked, thought that they were ripping his guts out and thought Glenn was dead? How many people here thought Glenn was dead? Okay. People cried. How many people talked about it the next day? All they could talk about was, oh my God, Glenn died. I know the answer to that. Then after the Glenn episode, they showed the Morgan filler episode, right? It was frustrating. Like, we want to know right now what happened to Glenn. But they made us wait 2 weeks. So, how many people were okay that Glenn lived and was able to survive being under a dumpster? As crazy and unrealistic as it was that he could fit under there, how many people were just kind of, okay, I'm glad he's back. I get to spend a little bit more time with Glenn. So Casey says I loved him surviving. And I think that's my point, is there are certainly, if we wanted to really, really pick it apart, there's so many things in both of these shows that we could. And I think it still is an amazing show. There's still a ton of fans that love the show. Everything they do next year is not going to be perfect, but fans are going to love it, and we're going to talk about it. I think well, Lonnie just brought up a great point. If you were about to die, you'd fit up under there too. It's a good point. But it doesn't always. Cliffhangers don't always ruin shows. I'll tell you, there were people frustrated about a cliffhanger that didn't want to wait. And we talked about it for 3 months and had some of the best conversations ever talking about what could happen. So I kind of get it, but it's just, I think it's just a perspective. And for writers on the show, they did well. But they're never going to get it 100%. All right. Last point I'm going to make here, and then we're going to talk about some future episodes. Keep in mind what Fear of the Walking Dead did this season with Madison and with the time skips and with the stadium and going back, going forward. Oh, my goodness. They have a blank check to do this forever. Some people didn't like it. I loved it. So, not just the characters. So, Pete D., you brought this up a while back and said, see, this is what's cool and what I try to do with our conversation. I try to bring it back full circle because you may think the rhetorical questions and some of the comments and the filming and both shows are not really what we're talking about, and it is exactly what we're talking about. So the show can also do that with people we have not met yet. Think about that for a second. So we find a couple tapes, and that'll be a little bit of repetition, but I think it is something the writers can use in their arsenal. I think it's a great idea, and to me that won't get old. As you flip through these tapes, Drama King, and you see, oh, the doctor and Abraham, then you know what that's about. But even if they meet somebody in Texas, there's a chance that Althea might have something taped about someone that they know. That's why it's so important that she tapes everything. So it is a little bit less coincidental because she is taping everything. When we're frustrated that Althea hands the camera to Charlie and says, someone might be interested in this, make sure you get it. It's going to be important. Now, in 6 months, we may be looking at it and saying, oh, come on, she really had a tape of that person? Yes. Now, I do have to go back to Epic's comment before we wrap this up. All right. And this is why. So Epic, hopefully this hits home. If The Walking Dead was more realistic, and Scott Gimple has said this, his exact, well, I don't know if it's his exact words, but I'll paraphrase. Robert Kirkman has said this. They can't show everything that people do because it would be boring. And if we wanted more realism, I've seen some of those episodes they did. I don't want to watch the corn grow. Sometimes they make decisions and it happens fast and it is coincidental. And as a viewer, I've got to jump on board with that because I don't need to see them spend 2 episodes rebuilding the solar panels. Now, we can talk about it and say, hey, how do solar panels get fixed? And then we move on to the next thing. But everything that they do, some of it has to be implied. And when these things start to happen, yes, I mean, there is going to be a part of us that sees the unrealistic nature of the show, and we say, well, that shouldn't have happened that way. That doesn't make any sense. But there's a difference between Glenn crawling under a dumpster and killing Rick Grimes. Let me be clear with that. Because they did it to try to get people talking, to sort of incite it, just to test, the reaction to Glenn. All of those things. There are a lot of reasons why they did it. Killing Rick is final. It's permanent. It's not something you'll test with. Now, I'm sure Epic offline, you and I could probably sit around and find 100 things that we disagree that probably could have been a little bit different, a little bit better. I think some of the theories, some of the storylines we've talked about here probably, in some cases, would have been better written. But, we don't always understand all of it. We don't always understand the actor, what the actor's contract is, when they want to leave, whether or not they got something else going on, whether or not they see them as a threat, how this person's story relates to this person's story. There's a whole lot that, you're in a position to be scrutinized. Have not seen any tapes labeled PPP, Nether Fox. That's a great point, Beth. So Beth says, what if she's not the only person recording? I mean, we don't know. There are other stories and there are other groups that are out there. We only know of our 2 groups. We only know of The Walking Dead and we only know of Fear. Imagine what else could be out there. What else could be going on? Well, I mean, we know about the Commonwealth too. We know about Georgie. I have not seen the finale to Blacklist, Ron. All right, everybody, we're at 54 minutes. So this stream, actually, I was going to do it 45 minutes. So we're going to wind the stream down. I do have a couple announcements that I do want to make. I am looking forward to an Abraham and Eugene early day storyline. Because we get such extended debate, and sometimes the streams, we start out 30 minutes, they end up as an hour. One thing that you are going to start seeing is you're going to see Walking Dead clips. So I kind of did it this morning. We did about a 2.5 minute video just to say Happy Father's Day. They are going to be random. I'm not going to announce them. I'm going to turn on the microphone, get behind it, and it's either going to be some topics, a real quick debate. They're going to be 3, 4, 5 minutes. Some people may get their comments in there. You may not. It could be just something that I have pre-scripted, and I'm just going to go over and read it. If you happen to be on, jump on, get your thoughts, get your comments included in that video. Like I said, they're going to be quick. They're probably going to be hard to catch. You can always watch the playback. But one of the things that I've gotten a consistent request is people said, Kills used to do a ton of these 3 or 4 minute videos, and I had more time, and not everybody has time to participate in the chat, and not everybody has time to watch an hour playback. I love you guys that do, and it's amazing your participation and your involvement, and we're going to keep these going. That's not going to change. But you will see some 3, 4, 5 minute freestyle Walking Dead clips where you just turn on the microphone and then they roll completely unannounced. So if you don't catch them, it's easy to watch the playback on those, but I do want to let you guys know that is coming. Just an idea that I had over the last couple of days. See, when you're on vacation, you get some of these. Tomorrow night, we will get with The Walking Dead Season 9, Episode 1. I need you to start doing your brainstorming. We're going to talk about how the show is going to start, what we expect to see, and we're going to go episode by episode through the first 8 episodes over the next 8 weeks. So need you to be a part of that. And, of course, Tuesday we'll do random things. Wednesday we'll have our bold predictions. Thursday we'll be back with Thursday Thrones. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate everybody that is in the house. Do want to give some shout-outs to all the patrons. You can see them up there. Their undying support for the 99 Gaming channel. Also, sponsors. There's the list. The moderators, Emmy, Steph, Tommy, Kels. You guys do an amazing job. And everybody else that's here. Also, the Super Chatters, Epic Hardcore Super Chatter, Valar. Who else we got? Sergeant Chosen One, Pete D. Everybody that is contributing, thank you so much. And if you're watching the playback, this is the closing credits. If you guys could all slap that like button, that would be awesome. If you're new, make sure you subscribe. Join us. We do this almost every single night at 9:30. As I said, there'll be some different things that are going on, some stuff and some things. Check us out over at the Walking Dead 99 Army Facebook page as well. Get your thoughts up there. And when this video goes live, one last request. If you guys love the 99 Army, leave a comment or two when the video goes live, because some people watching the playback, they'll read some of the comments, but they'll also read the comments down below. So I want to say what's up to Beth Brigette, Jake from State Farm at 3M, Nether Fox, what's up? Happy Father's Day. Sergeant Chosen One, Rublo's Channel, Valar, thank you, Ron Burgundy, Lamar Lanham. Who else we got here? We got Epic Vids, always a loyal fan and always a supporter of 99 Army. And I love the debate. I love the banner back and forth. Keep in mind, one thing that we do live debate. We will never always agree, but we will always respect each other. We'll always be a family, and we'll come up with some great ideas together. So who we got? We got Grayland28. Thank you. DDA Ohio. Fluff in the house. Hippo in the house as well. Gina Crockett, Walking Dead Nerd. Thank you so much. Walani, thank you. Northside Queen. Maria Favada. Alicia James. Maggie B. Good to see you. I know I missed some people. Cat Nat, I see you up there. Pete says, don't ever agree with me. I'm always wrong. Dawn of the Frank, thanks for being here. Mitch True. Bumblebee Brown is B squared. Thank you so much. Stefanella. I love that name. Stefanella. It's got a nice ring to it. Deborah Mooney. Thank you so much. Captain Crawfish super chat and says, love you guys and the moderators. And there's BK Harp. Got accidentally timed out. Oh, man, that was painful to watch. Tommy felt really bad about that, Brene, so hopefully no hard feelings. Melinda Kettler. What's up, Melinda? Good to see you. Dwayne Sharp, thank you so much. Who else we got? You do, Tommy. You definitely do. All right, I'm gonna hang out just a little bit longer. What's up, Bob D? Thank you, Walter Layton. Hey, man, thank you so much. It has been a while. You know, Walter, one thing is I know you guys can't be here every night. I mean, sometimes I can't be here every night. But when you guys do get a chance to tune in, I absolutely appreciate it. I mean, certainly when we're in season, we see people we haven't seen in a long time. But you guys popping in saying hello is definitely, it's good to see you again. Golden Arms, thank you. Phenomenal, Gina. Thank you. We'll talk about them. Random things I'll go through. I know I posted some pictures on the Patreon site. But, yeah, in random things, we'll talk a little bit about some interesting stuff. All right, everybody. If I miss you in a shout-out, I will catch you tomorrow night at 9:30. And once again, thanks to everybody. Talk to you soon. Peace.